We do not always have enough time to cover all of the recent news, so here with the recap is one of our writers, Amber Ruffin, in a segment we call Amber Says What?
You guys, things have been crazy. Okay, so everyone was like, COVID is slowing down. You can hang out with your friends. And I was like, what? Then Omicron hit, and they were like, stop hanging out with your friends. And I was like, what? Omicron got everybody, especially in late night. James Corden got it, and I was like, what? Jimmy Fallon got it, and I was like, what? Then Seth Meyers got it, and I was like, what? Seth, were you kissing Jimmy Fallon?
Mind your business.
I knew it! Then, while we were all working from home, everyone we loved died, and I'm barely exaggerating. Betty White died, and I was like, what? Sidney Poitier died, and I was like, what? Then Bob Saget died, and I was like, what? Oh my gosh, all of our favorites are dying. Then Robert Durst was like, I died too, and I was like, no, Robert Durst, this is not about you. Do not try to sneak in there while we're mourning beloved Americans. Shame on you. Then Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox got engaged, and I was like, what? That's fantastic. I, for one, cannot wait to see pictures of their smooth, angular children. Then I read about it, and they were like, we got engaged, and then we drank each other's blood. And I was like, what? Why do you have to ruin everything? You don't need each other's blood. What is wrong with you? You might around and get a taste for human blood. Is that what you want? Just reckless. I wouldn't let someone drink some of my margarita, let alone some of my blood, which, by the way, is mostly margarita. Then something horrible happened. Jason Momoa and Lisa Bonet split after being together for 16 years, and I was like, what? I'm devastated. But not for them, for me. Like all Americans, I desperately wanted them to make me the third in their open marriage. And now I am in mourning. Did somebody say mourning? Not now, Robert Durst! Also, let's talk about Lisa Bonet's extremely high standards. She married Lenny Kravitz and then Jason Momoa. Who is she gonna marry next? A beam of light? Lucky beam of light? Then New York Mayor Eric Adams hired his brother to be in charge of security, and everyone was like, what? But I was like, what? My sister Lacey is the head of my security detail. She's keeping me secure right now. Hey, you want me to throw this guy out of here?
It's my show.
No, Lacey, he's my little friend. Oh, yay! Yay! Then the Golden Globes happened, and I was like, what? Where? When? And most importantly, what? Why was it a secret? And who won? I looked it up, and you're never gonna believe it. Best Actress, Amber Mildred Ruffin. And then Best Supporting Actress went to Amber Mildred Ruffin. Best Late Night segment went to Amber Says What, which beat A Closer Look by 6,547 votes.
Hey!
Don't make me throw you out of here.
All right, okay. Okay, Lacey.
Then, speaking of award shows, okay, so after 3 years of going without a host, the Oscars are finally gonna get one! Yay! And as the winner of the Golden Globe for Hostiest Host, I think I should be the one to do it. Shoot, if Christian Siriano makes me a dress, I'll do that for free. Hear me, Christian, call me. Then you will never guess what happened. They put Maya Angelou on the corner. I saw that and was like, what? Yes, they put a woman on the corner. It better not be worth 20 cents. Now, I cannot wait to get my Maya Angelou corner. It really is like she always said, people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget you're on a shiny coin in their pocket. Then the FDA deregulated French dressing, and I was like, what? Why were they regulating French dressing in the first place? So it turns out there were certain ingredients you had to have to qualify as French dressing, but now anything goes. And I'm like, whoa, what are they gonna put in it? Something illegal? So if that's true, I demand the illegal version. It is my right to have pure, uncut French dressing, and I'll settle for nothing less. Then I found out that a huge asteroid is going to pass extremely close to Earth today. And I was like, what? And I just want to say that if this is our last day of existence, I'm going to be so sad because I don't want to die without trying that much dressing. I want it. Then I watched the new season of Euphoria, and I was like, I was like, what a smart decision I made to not have children. Those gross little children. The only thing those babies should be putting up their noses is a COVID test. Then everyone has been doing bits about Euphoria on Twitter, talking about how those kids dress, like, this is how I dress for school. And then it's them in normal clothes, and then they're like, this is how I dress for school at Euphoria High. And it's them dressed to go to the club. And others were so funny that we were gonna do a bit about it, but then I decided we're not.
We're not?
No.
Well, why didn't you tell me?
That's it. You're out of here.
All right.
This has been Amber Says What?
Amber Ruffin, everyone! Check out the Amber Ruffin Show on Peacock. New episodes return after the Olympics. I just have to do this part. We'll be right back with Jeremy Irons.
I said